Hi everybody, Dan here from MT Cloud, Moore Thompson. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar. I'm joined today by Simon, who joins us from Farmplan Cloud. Today the plan is to go through a really brief demonstration, give you an opportunity to fire any questions you may have at Simon or me, and hopefully spark a light bulb to move on to cloud in the near future. So thank you for joining us, Simon. How are you? All right?
Okay. Very well, thanks, Dan. Yeah.
Right. So talk to me about Farmplan, Simon. So it's relatively new, isn't it? But it's been on the go for a while.
It is relatively new. Obviously, it's a product that will sit in with the existing desktop range, but it's pure cloud product. It can cover all aspects, all clients, to be honest, because it will deal right with simple small business doing the VAT, trying to get that done digitally, but equally they can still put in things like the invoices, as well as clearly the bank feeds and what people are used to with the cloud software.
I mean, we've been looking forward to this day for a long time. We've got
many others,
and hopefully there'll be lots of people watching. So we've got lots of clients that love Farmplan, the desktop version. Absolutely adore it. And it's nice now that we hopefully will have a cloud solution for them. And moving forward, we should be able to get a few clients using it and get really comfortable ourselves using it as well.
Yeah, it's certainly it's a starting point. It's a good starting point, and there's plenty of scope for moving forward and evolution. It's nice to be there. After 25 years with Farmplan, we've had a few new products, but it's been a little while.
Yeah, it's all good. So I think if you're happy to, and you'd like to share your screen, you're going to do a sort of a brief demonstration-ish. We don't need to go into all the details, but it'd be nice for our clients to be able to see it and just kind of get a feel for what it looks like and kind of how it works. So if you're happy to, Simon, you can share your screen and go through.
Yeah. Okay, let me just press the right buttons.
And while Simon's doing that, so if anyone does have any questions, you're more than welcome to drop them in the box, and we'll answer them towards the end. Obviously, if there's too many, we'll come back to you at a later date.
Okay, so what you've got is a typical home dashboard there, and most people using apps or a cloud products will be very used to something similar to this. So this is something that can be edited. It can be just ignored and taken away so that you have a straight blank dashboard. As time goes by, we're going to be increasing the amount of reporting and the depth of reporting, and this will link with that. So I've chosen to drop off some of the graphs available here, but classically most people want sort of your profit and loss, quick snap of cash flow, and your expenses. So that's a real nice sort of start, something that already more visible and more transparency than perhaps most desktop softwares, and certainly Business Manager. Although the depth of it, you have to dig around to start getting information. It's nice to see these trends. Useful links is something that we tended to use. Great thing about it being sort of third, fourth generation of software, account software, is that we've used our sort of knowledge of saying, okay, well, most clients will be diving into the bank accounts, particularly with the bank rules and bank feeds now, overdue debtors and creditors, as well as doing your VAT return. And as always, not too far away from the help button to grab hold of us either. And then we've popped on a Farmplan website for downloads and links. Having said that, of course, updates on the cloud, there'll be no downloads. It'll be a lot easier. It'll be seamless, and anything big we'll be emailing or messaging out through there, which you'll see in a few minutes. Top toolbar is what I tend to call sort of our navigation or lookup areas. So we've got customer invoices, and we've got the same for suppliers. We can, as I say, we can access all information about customers as well as the invoices, credit notes, etc. We can have a look at the banking. We'll come back to accounting, everything that you want to dive in and view. We've got view transactions, which is very similar to the daybook. So we can access anything blue text. We can dive straight into here and access. The other things that we can do, which we can't necessarily in the desktop software, is we can get straight back in here and edit, which is still good in Business Manager. But actually, the other things we can do is very quickly clip attachments, and we can also attach and copy transactions in across from things like receipts. Okay, so there's lots of different filters and options in here that we can use, but we'll come back to this in a few minutes. Tools is another thing that we've got. Recurring transactions is new, as well as creating quotes as well. But we'll have a look where we can create from one area within the program. Come back to reports as well. What I will do is just across the top here, we know which business we're in, but we could have multiple businesses open, and we could equally have access to multiple businesses as well. And that's a nice thing. We can set up users in here. And in fact, if I just click into here, it just brings me into my setup, and 2 or 3 new things in here. Obvious things like business name, business, something that's new, locking transactions. So it'll be nice for you, Dan. It means that you can lock the transaction date, and at least people are putting them in the transactions in the right year. So it's something I do see quite often with the current software. The other thing with financial year, start year date, the way that the data sits on here, it's very much more of a flexible thing. With the Business Manager, if you do happen to change it a year end, then we've got to have the data in, we've got to fiddle about with it, we've got to pretty much start a new business. So a lot more flexibility there. I suppose the only thing is, if you're adopting something like the Farmplan Business Cloud partway through the year, that's fine, but just make sure you've closed your VAT on your previous software before moving on to this. The thing that's sort of quite new, or a new thing within the cloud software, is a very, very easy setup mechanism. So there's a list behind here. There's an ability to set up 9,999 codes. And we have a whole raft of clearly farm activities and farm-driven enterprises. And all you do is work down and basically click what you're growing, what you're breeding, or even into the diversified, if I can say it, businesses as well. So we've got things like leisure, but then that opens up into other things like glamping, etc. So this will be, we have, as you will, Dan, have a lot of experience with clients who are running diversified businesses. It's not to say that they've got them all, but the nice thing is you can add coding behind this. So what it's doing is it's basically saying, right, I've ticked the box. So if I just come back up to the top, if I tick the box and say I've got cereals, there's 14, 15 codes going in there, sales, purchases, overheads. But then I can say, well, actually, I want to run, but I'm growing barley. So it just opens up a little bit more detail, a few more codes that can structure. And so you're basically building the coding around, or categories as they're called now, around your business. So it's pretty much bespoke to how you want to run your coding. I mentioned users, and the great thing about this compared to desktop software is you are looking at full multi-user. So that could be your secretary, it could be our family farm. We've got brothers who run 2 different aspects of the farm, and that's great for having access and live data, as well as Dan rightly says, accountants have been striving for Farmplan to go live in the cloud, so that at least there's a way of accessing data and having timely advice and access to it. Don't be afraid though, because you can set, and these are standard company admin and restricted, they're all set up, and you can just choose what level of admin rights you want the user to have. I suspect in most cases you're going to set your accountant up as company admin because they're probably more reliable than you to work with your data. Certainly more than me. And it's something though that you can mix and match and create other groups of permissions. So nice bit of flexibility. Really does open things up to make life a lot easier with access, especially being able to get onto it from your mobile phone or your iPad or something like that. Nowadays, it's not just confined to the desk. The other things obviously we have is the ability to go in and set up our documents. So again, here we can create the invoices. So not only have you got that like download of from the bank, we can still have the comfort of producing our customer and supplier invoices. So you've got that reassurance, and then obviously in turn, it's giving our debtors and creditors. So we've got straight away, it's giving us a full picture. Have something that we've never had and won't have in the desktop version, which is the quote options to create a quote. Probably less if you will do that, but as you're getting into more diversified businesses, you would. Statements as well, and invoices, you can set up your own designs. So that's just something there. But those who are running the business manager software, you'll know you can do lots with that with regards to design, but it pretty much looks like you've got to start reprogramming if you want to do anything. Whereas in here, they've got a choice of set templates, and you just work off the one you want. That's an unfortunate name on that one. Yeah, so and you can drag and drop your company name in as well, and like everything in here that you can attach or you bring in, you just drag and drop. It's there's no complications or trying to search around too much now. It's very simple, very sort of standard. The other things with invoicing in mind is that you can set up credit limits, you can set up reminders, and those reminders, because you can now email direct from the software as well. No messing around with having the right version of sort of Office desktop with Outlook. It goes straight through. It's a browser product. It's not an issue. It just goes straight out. And I'll show you a little bit later, but that's where we have an audit as well. So it gives you an automatic audit, so you can click into an email, an invoice, and see when it was sent, when it was picked up, and also once it's been paid as well. So that will give that should be music to Dan's ears, or with the kind of auditing and that kind of thing. So excuse me. Let me just come back to this excuse me, top toolbar here. So this plus button is where we can put everything new in, which we'll have a click in a minute. Any notifications, so there are kinds of things like tax information we come through, VAT reminders, those kind of things we'll send through. Workshops and webinars we still send through there. Help notes in here, but actually now, and it has been a little bit into our desktop software, but actually now we've got something called Intercom, which we can really start to see. Let me pop it down there. Start to see working at its peak, really. So we've got conversations, we've got live chat we can work with. We've also got help in full articles, sort of very visual, very simple. I think art help's always been great. It's a lot easier to follow now. And of course, we've got standard e-learning courses set up as well for actually all our products, but particularly again works well with that. Not forgetting though that we still have the same people on the support lines who will have supported you with Business Manager. They are offering exactly the same support with the Business Cloud. Actually, a little bit more, because we've got a unique product, which is, yes, there's standard training, but actually there's something called a foundation session, which is up to 2 hours, basically hand holding. It's remote, time and and a date agreed, somebody can log onto your computer, control the mouse, and basically help you set up with opening balances, etc. It's something that we realize it's not training, it's not meant to be, but it is a real helping hand, and it perhaps gets people over that thinking of, oh, I've got to set up again, because it's very quick, as you'll have seen already, but also there's nothing like having somebody sort of leading you by the nose and helping you out. And part of that is just making sure when they initially set up the time for the session, is they'll make sure that you know exactly what you need. So it's well worth it, and it's £95 for up to 2 hours. So I think that's a good value of anybody's money on that. And I know there's been a lot of uptake on that, surprisingly, but it just shows that people are keen to get this set up in the right way, because it's very easy to use otherwise. Okay, let's go to the plus button. I wish we had one of these on Business Manager, because yeah, pretty much anything you want to set up as new is in here. I'm going to come straight down to enterprises, because actually that's the latest feature on here. So not only have we got sort of farm terminology, farm categories set up, you can set up your enterprises. So very simply, if I put in my wheat here, I don't need to put a description. I don't need to put a start date in there. But if I do, and I pop a date in, I'll just pop one tomorrow. But I can put that in at the start of a year. So actually, so it could be the end of August, something like that. And it means that I won't make the mistake of allocating the costs or my expenditure to income or expenditure, I should perhaps say, to the wrong enterprise. And I could call that winter wheat, well, coming into 22 now, aren't we? So I could equally set that up and save that. It means that we can allocate everything out. We can get P&L from that. We can start to hone a little bit more of what we're used to and what we're going to be putting more in. But enterprise is a big thing that we're putting in. So these will gradually be more and more of this functionality put in. So if I just save that up, it's easy there. And that just says, okay, excuse me, it's in there. It's the bottom one, winter week 22. But you'll see I've got others set up in there. And there's no limit to enterprises, no limit to users. There's no limit to, it's hard. I don't think anybody will beat the 9,999 code limit, but we'll yet to see on that one. There'll be a few years yet. So as I say, there's no sort of limitations on this. If I know a lot of you are using invoices, and we'll have a look at the bank feeds in a minute. But certainly, if I pop into a new customer invoice, you'll see it will look pretty familiar to what what you're used to, really. I quite like it because it's already looking like an invoice. So although you could argue our desktop software does, in reality, not as much as this does. We can add new customers here as well if we want to, but equally we can equally set up customer groups, because the ability to set up customer groups for, I know there's veg boxes here. We could have a veg box scheme that we could have them all set to, I don't know, £30 a month, and we could just press the button and all those invoices go out to that group at that time, set reminders, and that will continue to do that. So some real automation. It's all about trying to pull data in, push data out with ease. And we all know humans make mistakes. So if we can keep reoccurring stuff, which a lot of things are, without having to touch too many buttons, it does increase accuracy. It's proved over and over again. Okay, I'm just going to pull up my group serials in this case. As I could set in automated reminders. I could do it here, but equally when I'm setting up a customer, I can set up my reminders for the individual customer. We've got categories here. You'll get used to them as heading codes, but categories is a very well-known cloud term. And that's what we're trying to do now with the sort of next generation is not be so unique on the referencing, but certainly add more in the reporting and the farm orientation more than a lot of other rivals out there. So I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to go for the spring barley. Spring barley selling. I'm going to equally choose barley as an enterprise. I can put my 100 tons in there, and let's just keep it simple, and we'll stick it at 100. And so it's calculated through. Obviously, it's going to know the coding and bits and pieces. I can add as many transactions as lines on a transaction as I wish. And of course, one of those will be my commissions and levies. So again, something that is not unique, but very, very tidy, doing contras all in one place. I'll just think of a number. There we go. Calculated so although I think Dan will vouch for this, it's something that contras and levies, haulage bridge charges, weighbridge we could add on there if we want to. All those are very, very rare to see them anywhere else in other industries, but every single income tends to be matched with a levy or a penalty. Some set of client told me a few years ago, and I think he's probably quite right. But this will deduct things. It will calculate the VAT in the right manner. It'll put them in the right boxes, and it's all done as it would come from your grain merchant or whoever you're selling to, whether that's sheep, milk, or the barley side of things. So that, if you wanted to, that could equally be saved, and we could go to the next one, saved and view as an invoice, which I'll have a quick look at. Right, okay, so let's have a look at where those invoices sit. So just going to revisit those transactions. This is the bit that I said previously was the day book. And actually, I'm going to come into this top one. So this is customer invoice. It's BT, and it's a rental for a mast. And the reason why I've come back in is just to show you that it runs an audit trail. Now, it might be we've amended things, but and that would show the amends. But there we go. It was sent on 19th of the 11th, created. I actually sent it to myself. So you've got that full audit that it's been delivered. So none of your customers can safely now say that they haven't had anything through an email from you. And it'll say who it's delivered to and the exact time as well. So that's quite nice. That's, again, something that there's no way of doing that with a desktop software at all. So and it's nice, it's clean, it's a good looking standard template. The only thing you would have had to do is drag in your logo, and that's how it tend to work. From here, the other big thing that I should have mentioned before is we can tick these and we can bulk edit. It's something that hasn't crept into the desktop accounts. It is something that's nice to say that it's from here from day one. So I know that you'll see in the next three screens through the bank, we tend to put things into a suspense account, and then that can be bulk edited out to varying sort of categories. But I'll show you that anyway. So we talked about banking, and this is the major thing that we have that's different, that we'll never have on the desktop software. When we set up our bank accounts, and as you see, it could be a petty cash account. We've got three options. We have a manual, which is obviously what you're used to now. We'll have a file import for those that don't want to go full bank feed. The reason why I've got file import here is because I didn't fancy showing all my bank details. But equally, we can have a bank feed, and that's certainly the one that I would recommend. And it's something that we at Farmplan have all tended to do, all driving our own bank accounts through this as some of the best sort of test ground that we could have. So this is and all major high street banks and some of the obscure ones have links through here, or bank feeds. There's one, I think, quite obscure one that doesn't at the moment, but the great thing is the bank file import allows that freedom. So you've got a full scope of whatever rows and columns, you can get them to match and they can pull in, which is basically what we've done with our emails. So if I just click into here, you'll see that there's drafts 2 of confirmed 8. So when you actually set up or pull in your first bank feed, you can either do it one of 2 ways. You can set up bank rules, because we are fairly safe in saying sort of 80 to 90 imports or 80 to 90 transactions coming into the bank are a very regular occurrence. So therefore, you can set up bank rules. And so we've chosen, in my case, I've chosen to say, well, actually, if it fits a bank rule, and I'll show you one in a minute, then I don't want to have to go through and still tick it to say, yes, it's come through. I want to do it automated. Now, believe me, we all said, no, we want to check everything because we don't trust it. But within 2 months, we all unticked that box because it's just more work than you need to do, because, you know, as I say, it's the bank and it's coming through. Confirmed is basically what you would tend to see. So get over that threshold of you know, having to confirm and look at everything and check everything off. And what we've got here is classically Locks Garage is that suspense code. So these are confirmed. These have come in through the bank and they've come into the system and they say, yep, we're now in the system. If I'd come into here, I have, this has been auto confirmed. So all we have is the ability to go in, create bank rules, either set them up with before you get into this point, or set them up while you're actually importing in from the bank, which is some of the easiest way. And it just means every time, what I've done is I said, if you see the description Locks Garage, then assign it to my category, a suspense account. And then at the end of the month, and and this is, Locks Garage is a true thing. It's actually one of our, you might have met Anne Chianchi during the MTT time. She's our chartered accountant, sort of in-house chartered accountant, who's helping to, who ran the MTD project, who's also worked along with myself and our developers on this. And they not only sell fuel, but they also sell pig food. They also do some very good ice creams, I've been told. So her husband gets all these invoices in, brings them in at the end of the month. She puts them all on the suspense account, and then with bulk edit, she can go in and grab 5 or 6 and put them all through to fuel, another 2 or 3 and down to ice creams and etc. So it makes that a lot easier. Telephones, anything with Vodafone is a phone. It's allocated to the telephone. So things like this, just yes, you can default a category or a heading code, as it's called in the desktop software, automatically to a supplier. But believe me, it's nothing like calling this kind of information in as quickly as this. So there will be things that don't fit exactly with a bank rule, and that's the point where if they're unchecked, they're not confirmed, they'll sit in here. So we've got that BT mast here, I think it is. And we can say, okay, it's money in or money out. Well, it is, but we know there's an outstanding invoice. So customer receipt, and I can pick up my BT, and actually you'll see there matching invoice has been found for this bank transaction. So that's actually, and if you want to go into here, we can see, there we go, that was the reference. That's now come in. It's going to plonk our reference number, our payment number in. If I close that, it's now coming as payment description there. So we've tallied an invoice against a payment, and I'll tick that as being confirmed. Bingo. Okay, I can do exactly the same for Daniel's, which I think is a feed. Now it's a supplier payment. And I have a Daniel's there, and there's a matching invoice on that one as well. It might be that we've got more invoices, which we have here. So although there's a matching one, we've got an outstanding invoice. So the nice thing about that little invoice button is we can go in and see what's outstanding. We can come in and we can do some overpayment if we want to, if there is an overpayment as well. So again, transparency is key here, and I think yes, you've got on account, and you can go into the ledgers as you can here, if you want to call them ledgers, up into my customer and supplier areas and see where we sit with status of payments. But gosh, there's nothing to replace this. And like I say, they've all now been confirmed. Just hit the update button, and there's our BT bill there, and Daniel's is further down. There we go. So very quick, very easy to do. I think until you've done a couple, you're not going to realize what you've been missing. If we just sort of wrap up looking at reports. Now, like I say, depending on how much you use Business Manager, is depending on how much you're going to miss reports or not. If I click on all, then we can, it's similar to ours at the moment, actually. If you press a little star, it becomes a favorite, which means it sits at the top of the report drop down. So I've done that on a few. The other things is that we've got exports in here as well. And right the way through, you won't have necessarily seen it, but within pretty much every window, we can export things over to Excel, CSV, PDF, which nowadays, with the world like it is, it's becoming a bigger requirement to actually produce data, not necessarily in a structured form that people would say is the Farmplan looking report. It's often data out into something that can be mapped and sent into another vehicle. Of course, things are going to get easier and seamless with the likes of this cloud software. So let me just come up to reports. I've saved profit and loss. So we can have a full-blown profit and loss, all enterprises, can be printed out, exported to Excel, you see on here, or PDF, so nice and easy, no having to go back into Publish or anything like that. But equally, if I go to, what did I go, dairy, I've got some dairy here. Sorry for all those that aren't dairy. There we go. Same as if we had barley, same as if we had sheep. We've got not massive because there's not a lot of data in here, but you can suddenly see how this is starting to work and give us a clearer picture across individual aspects of the business for better core decision support. And this is where we're going with this. And this is very much going to become a thing that you're going to be able to access sort of deeper and more valuable reports as time goes on. But as I say, it's a jolly good starting point. Nice thing compared with desktop again is we've got full start finish or start end reporting. So it's date range reporting. It's quite limited in the desktop software, and I know we've got consultants who have been waiting for things like that for quite some time. Simple cash book is in there as well. Balance sheets, trial balance, etc. in there. VAT return, obviously you'll know. VAT return, very simple to set up. You've got your VAT returns and your HMRC, which I haven't done a submission. You won't be surprised to hear my dummy data. I'm sure they'd be pleased. That would hold your log of those that have been submitted. If I just click onto edit, give you all of reassurance. There we go. That's your VAT return as such. And when you close a VAT down, it locks it automatically as well. You can unlock it, but it automatically locks it in order for a safeguard of keeping that data nice and clean and going in the right places. But yeah, as I say, lots of reports I could show you. It's only really a taster to what's there and available to you, but hopefully it'll give you a good sort of feel of where we are now going and where we are now. I'm at last glad to say. But yeah, I don't know whether you've got any comments or anything, Dan, or any questions at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's brilliant. I think that gives everyone a really kind of brief overview. It's difficult, isn't it? Because you don't want to oversell or undersell a new software. But I think I'm right in saying it probably does a lot more than what 20 minutes of your time can probably show us. So that's the bits that you have shown are really useful. And as we know, the world is changing. Cloud is becoming more utilized by a lot of our clients. There's some really nice features in there that I know the desktop version doesn't do. And actually, I know some of the competitors don't offer as well. So that's really nice. And I think if you are in the farming industry, you should probably already be aware of Farmplan, and this is just another string to your bow, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's taken a little while to get here. I don't think there's anybody more frustrated than we are. I think it's worth the wait, because we have learned from others who've been at it for a little while. We'd be silly not to, and we've had that comment back to us that in some aspects it looks slightly cleaner, fresher, more simple than some of the other rivals out there. So yeah.
So we have had a few questions come through, Simon. So I think there's some for you and some for me. So I'll start at the top. We haven't got long, so we'll try and rifle through as many as we can.
Yeah.
Right. So does the cloud version link to Gatekeeper?
It doesn't yet. I'll say yet because obviously it's early doors, and we are looking at the ability to link across to our existing products initially. Some of that's going to be driven by client and client requests. So not yet, but it's all on the roadmap.
Does it integrate with other apps?
Not yet, but that's probably in some cases a higher priority than where we are with Gatekeeper. There's certainly apps out there like things like Dext, and pulling in what I would term sort of pre-accounts, so invoicing, and trying to streamline it even further, which dovetails nicely with a sort of cloud accounts package. So yes, and also working with other sort of agricultural partners as well, those who've got other agricultural software, because it's the world's a small place now. Cloud makes it even smaller, and so I'd be lying to say we weren't already looking and discussing and thinking. So that's a definite yes.
And then I think this next one's for me, really. But so someone's asked, I currently use Xero, but used to be on Farmplan Business Manager. Should I move? ? So I mean, kind of off the back of what Simon's just said, really, potentially yes, potentially no. It depends on your current setup, and it depends on what you want from your setup. So, for example, if you are using Xero, but perhaps you are using a Dext or a HubDoc to pull that information into the software, maybe moving to Farmplan Cloud isn't the right time. But if you're not utilizing that, and actually you want something that's a bit more bespoke to your business, maybe Farmplan Cloud is the right option. So what I always say to our clients or people coming in off the street talking about cloud is to book a meeting, really. We offer a 1 hour free cloud consultation. We sit down, we just talk it through. What do you want? What do you expect? What do you need? They're the key areas, really. And so it's never as straightforward as move. There's a lot of other things that we've got to look at, and we've got to kind of test the water and talk people through the process properly. So to that person, get in touch, book in a meeting, and let's have a sit down. Let's have a proper conversation about it. And then finally, because we're running out of time, so if I move, what about my historic data? So Simon, you're probably a better.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So historic data is always one of those questions that comes up between generational moves, and you can move suppliers, customers, and outstanding invoices, really to set the scene, get things set up with an opening balance, and really easy, simple opening balances as well. Just shoot down a sort of a little 2-column spreadsheet, in fact. I'm always loath to bring data across. It's something that we haven't necessarily factored in for various reasons. One of the main reasons people don't always like you saying it is for legacies coming over. So partly due to businesses changing over the years. So therefore, how useful is that data to come in? Because you are using a lot of and bringing in a lot of redundant coding, and potentially errors within that. And there's nothing like starting afresh, getting everything sorted out, and knowing you've got a nice, clean path forward with some common sense. Now, your data, if you're running Farmplan, if you're running probably, I hate to say it with other products, but let's say certainly with Farmplan, I can say that it's desktop software. You've got that license. You stop paying that software license or annual support. You then move on to the cloud. That doesn't stop you from getting full access to your data within Business Manager or Cash Manager, or whatever level. So there's no worry about that. And I always say, I'll talk to you in a year's time and see how many times you've actually looked back at your old data, and because we do have people do that year on year when they move from other products. So I would say yes, we can help you with some, but think if you're moving to something and changing something clean and new, make sure that's the data as well as the program.
Yeah, and I would completely back that response, because we see it. I mean, with Zeros and the QuickBooks and coming from a Sage 50 desktop version, we see people want to migrate data across, and it can be done, but is it always necessary? It's nice to have a clean slate. It's nice to start off right. This is how we're going to run it moving forward. And it's nice to have that clean break. And like you said, if you've been paying for a desktop version, you'll still own all the information. You'll still have access to all that information. So you're not losing any data. But what's the point of moving potentially bad data into a new system? So yeah, I'd completely back that. I mean, we're about there. We're about out of time. So, and I don't want to keep Simon any longer than I need to. So,
I appreciate your time.
Much appreciated, Simon. Fantastic to show these guys what Farmplan are bringing out, and I'm sure we'll speak shortly after this webinar too. Thank you to everybody who's watched. And again, just to reiterate it, get in touch. We want to talk to you guys. We want to make sure that you're using the right software for your business. So please get in touch. And we'll leave it there. Thank you again.
See you all soon. Thank you.
And I'll speak to everyone soon. See you later.